Greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for tuning into Lions Talk Live this Friday. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk, please consider doing so. Now, without further ado, we got some people in the house today. I want to welcome Micro Mike. Micro Mike, thanks for jumping in with us to talk with me and the Sarge, Tony Libretto, about all things Detroit Lions and the NFL into this upcoming weekend. Mike, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about your channel.
Well, first off, it's Lions Talk by Chat Sports. You can go to Lions Nation Unite. But one thing you don't know is that guy above me, his name's Sarge. We were served in the Army together for multiple years. He's a friend of mine. So when I seen that you were friends with Libretto, I about fell off a cliff because not only were we friends in the Army, but we played softball together as well.
And then, of course, we got the world's foremost authority on all things Detroit Lions. We got the Sarge, Tony Libretto. If you've been a fan of the channel we're coming up on nearly a year now, you're very aware of him. So, guys, we're not going to keep everybody here all day. So I just wanted to jump in with a few things, and we're going to kick it off right off the bat with some non-directly related Detroit Lions news. There are rumors coming out and about that Minnesota Vikings might be listening to offers from, the New York Jets. What do you guys, Sarge, we'll start with you. What do you think about this potential trade of Kirk Cousins to the Jets, Jets?
Which one you asking?
You.
Oh. So, I mean, rumors are rumors. I think the Jets, I don't think Minnesota is quite ready to give up on their season yet. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is in Minnesota right now. So I think that tells you a lot. They still have a lot of games. It's only the second week of the season. I know they're 0-2, but I think it's just a rumor. I don't think they're gonna, unless the Jets give them some ridiculous package, like trade Zach Wilson back and a couple of first-round picks or something stupid like that. I don't know how desperate the Jets are at this point. I mean, they did win their first week. They got a pretty good matchup this week, so we'll see how it goes.
Mike, you've covered the NFL for a while now. If a team 2 weeks in are talking about trading their starting quarterback potentially, what's this mean to Vikings fans and the franchise?
Man, we know this being Lions fans starting to like this and the rumors flying around. We're going to trade players. I kind of with Libretto here. I just don't think they're ready to give up the season yet, because if you trade him, you just told your whole fan base week 2 that you're tanking. And I can tell you there'd be a lot of angry fans considering they went 13-3 last year, won the NFC North, got to the playoffs, and then you turn around and decide to tank by trading Kirk Cousins. Now, look, this could be something maybe for the trade deadline. If they're still sucking, they're like 1-6 or whatever the record would be. That could be something they could consider. I think it's difficult to do that right now. I know a lot of Vikings fans hate Kirk Cousins. A lot of them like him. That would just set it ablaze.
Okay, we'll go with that. My personal take, I'm with you guys. It's a little too early, but then again, he's got 1 year left on his contract. I guess it would be dependent upon what the Jets are going to offer. If they're going to overpay, maybe. But, I guess we'll wait and see. All right, let's play a little true or false here. Micro, let's have you go first, Mike. True or false? Must-win game Sunday for Detroit.
It's always a must-win game for me. Yeah, absolutely. Got to win this game, man. This is the payback. They beat us last year, and guess what happened when they beat us last year? They're the ones that got into the playoffs, and we didn't. We got to win these NFC games, folks. You got to be able to stack wins in the NFC so tiebreakers can go our way instead of going another team's way. I know it would – people, well, you're 1-1. Yeah, now, but what would the season look like at the end of the year? Is there a time where we have to do a tiebreaker again? So let's go ahead, we're home. The Seattle Seahawks is reeling. Let's go ahead and smoke them out 2-0 and stay in the NFC North. In Green Bay, who knows what they're going to do? So, yeah, you got to win.
Sarge, what do you think? The Lions, they got to pull this one off?
Yeah, I think it's a must-win too. Seattle's beaten us 2 years in a row. We got smoked in Seattle a couple of years ago in the heartbreaker last year. We were at that game with our Seattle friends, embarrassingly enough. So yeah, it's a must win. this sets the tone for the whole season because it's a revenge game. It's week 2. We take the field, we crush them on our home field, and that just sets the pace for the rest of the year. And it shows the rest of the league because Seattle, before the season started, was predicted, a lot of them said, hey, these guys are going back to the playoffs. They're going to contend with the 49ers for the division in the West. So if they crush them tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Sunday, then, that's going to say, hey, no, the Lions are the real deal. And this sets the tone. The motivation in the locker room is going to be so crazy high. Taking that, we have 2 home games in a row. If we can win both of them and start the year 3-0, that's going to turn a lot of heads in the NFL.
I agree. It's kind of a segue into my next question, but Lions fans, all of us, we've been through it, especially if you've been a fan since, I don't know, I guess the late 90s when things really started changing with the franchise. But here's my question of the day, and Sarge, I'll let you go first.
Right.
Lions fans suffer from a form of PTSD, having been Lions fans for the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's been rough since about the mid 90s, hasn't it? We've had some glimmer of hopes. We've had some fake hopeful seasons. With the preseason, we're like, man, these guys are looking good, and then they go out and they're just terrible. Even the years when we had Sue and Calvin on the same team, how did we not win with those guys? We made it to the playoffs once, maybe twice with both of those guys on the team, but we didn't win the playoff games, right? We got blown out, I think, by Seattle one year, and then that terrible loss to the Cowboys, which I hate more than anything in the world. So, the last 20, when was the last good season? 93, 95, maybe, somewhere's in there. We've had other winning seasons, obviously, since then, but they were still false hope seasons because we'd win 10, 11 games on the year and then win 3 the next year. So, yeah, I would say we're all suffering pretty hardcore. And it's pretty telling that the whole country knows how much the Detroit Lions have suffered, the fans. So I'll just go with that.
Micro, what do you got on that? Lions fans, let me bring up last week, the first game against Kansas City. Mahomes gets the ball back with just under 5 minutes to go. What's going through your mind at that moment?
I really don't have the PTSD from it. There's something about this team that's different that I've noticed. And we're a physical football team, and when you're physical, you can actually change and win in the fourth quarter. Something that, at least I've been a Lions fan. I'm 38, so I got to see, obviously the Stafford era and then John Kitna, but we've never been a physical football team through my time, unless you're a Barry Sanders fan, you've seen it. So this is different to me because we're so physical. I know that they have the ability to come back and they can run it down the throat. So when the Chiefs scored, I wasn't too concerned. I really wasn't. If you watch the stream, you'll see that. It's just because I know what type of team this is now. Now, look, if it's 2011 and we're not physical, we're a finesse football team, you're going to have me nervous. But it's like, you know what? I know these big guys up front in the offensive, defensive line can, put their dominance upon the will and force them upon. So I'm not too concerned. I love how we've built this team through the trenches, and we like to run the football.
I agree with you. Dan Campbell, you look at his MO, how he was as a player with Detroit, among other teams. The guy loves attention to detail. He loves being physical, and to him, that's his bread and butter. He wants everything to be a physical game, and we're just going to beat you down. He can go back to his opening press conference and the knee bites, all that stuff, but it's a reflection of who he is internally, and I think that has transferred to this team. Say for what you want, but I think we all agree this isn't the same old Lions. This is the brand new Lions, or whatever you want to call it. And I think, man, Sunday's a real opportunity. There's a lot of high hopes for this team, but I also know there's a fairly good sized portion of the fan base that are waiting for the rug to get pulled out from under them. Big win here, especially a dominating win. I think we go a long way towards showing the fan base this might be a whole new thing. All right, so let's get on to some of the news and notes about the press conference that came out today. Let's play a game. Tone, we'll start with you. If Decker is out, which we'll see what happens, who do you move where on the offensive line?
We talked a little bit about this before we started doing all this, and at first I was a little iffy about moving Sewell over there, but if they're practicing with him over there just in case, I think he'd be all right. Not all right as in just okay on the field, but he'd be comfortable and probably play very well at left tackle. He'll probably eventually move over there anyway, but part of me was also torn, because he's probably the top one. He's probably the best NFC right tackle in the league. So do you move him to the left side just so you can slide everybody else over, or do you keep him there and put in somebody else? But I think you kind of convinced me that maybe he could go over there and put Graham at guard, like we talked about, and move Big Al over to the right side, to the right tackle.
Mike, what do you got? If you got to shuffle the line a little bit, if Decker can't play, and I get it sounds like he's trending towards it, but if he can, who are you moving where, or what are you doing?
Matt Nelson sucks. Let's keep it 100. And that's the last guy you want on the left side. So yeah. I think I'd put Penei Sewell to the left side, put Graham, go ahead and put him in the right guard position, and then you move Halapoulivaati Vaitai to right tackle. Even though he's not a great right tackle, but he is better than Matt Nelson. I think that's the best way to go. Thankfully, if you look at the defensive line of the Seattle Seahawks, they're not good at getting pressure. So this is one of those games where I think you can do something like this and get away with it. But it just shows you the importance of having a backup tackle, because you cannot rely on Matt Nelson. Absolutely cannot rely on that. And when you lose a tackle like Taylor Decker, this is the type of problems you have.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys. I think if you not that you couldn't just leave everybody alone and maybe just put Nelson at the left, but I think you're going to have to back him up with either a tight end blocking, so probably a Brock, or you're going to have one of the running backs help chip with him, because, I just don't think you're going to want Goff's backside getting exposed to what Matt Nelson's weaknesses are, and therein lies the problem. He can see somebody coming around from the right side. He can't see his back. So, if you don't like Goff, maybe put Nelson there. If you do like Goff, you're probably going to throw some help if Nelson's over there. But all right, so let's Mike, let's go at you first with this one. So this is more or less about Sunday, this particular broadcast. So with that being said, I get Seattle didn't have probably a great game, at least in the second half in week one. But what scares you the most or worries you the most about Seattle's offense?
DK Metcalf. Last year, this time, he had 7 receptions for almost 150 yards against the Detroit Lions. DK Metcalf is a physical wide receiver. He's big, and he can get open in the end zone because he's a big target. And for whatever reason, he loves to kind of try to bully our Detroit Lions. So he scares the hell out of me. So we got to be able to not allow this guy to go off, because if he gets off, their offense is going to roll. That's what happens. Last week, though, versus the Rams, he didn't do anything. I'm really hoping that's the case here on Sunday. But that guy does make me not sleep too well.
What do you think of their running game? Because to me, that's a big portion of what they're going to have.
Geno Smith is their running game. And I think that because they didn't run too well, I don't even think they got 30 yards in rushing. Geno Smith is that mobile quarterback, and he killed us last year, and he can run around. So just like Patrick Mahomes did last week, that was their top rusher. We got to make sure that Geno Smith is not the top rusher in this game on Sunday.
Sarge, you're breaking down. You're looking at Seattle. You're the defensive coordinator for Detroit. What are you thinking?
He hit the nail on the head with DK, obviously, but I would say I think I'm a little concerned with the run game, because I don't think they had Kenneth Walker up to full speed yet when we played him last year. That guy got 1,000 yards and he only played like 10 games last year. So they still got to concentrate on making sure he doesn't have a good game against us. They do have a rookie wide receiver too. Obviously, they still have Tyler Lockett. So they have got 3 really good receivers, really. Lockett didn't have a good game that last week, but I think he got knocked out. So, the rookie, that Jackson Smith-Njigba, we got to watch out for him too, because he's first round draft pick for a reason. So, I'd be more concerned, keeping an eye on Kenneth Walker, because again, we don't really know what our run defense is yet, because Kansas City, yeah, Mahomes can scramble, but they don't really have the running backs that some of these other teams that we're going to be playing do. Pacheco and what was the other, Edwards-Helaire and those guys, they're not like, premier. None of them got 1,000 yards rushing last year. So I definitely keep an eye on Walker as well.
Yeah, I think if I'm Seattle, knowing their line's a little beat up, I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw last year with a play action quarterback roll out to one sideline to the other and just try to hit a tight end or receiver either down that deep sideline or across the middle of the field. They've got to do something to keep Geno upright, and just having him drop back 3-5 steps, that's just going to get him killed. So that would be my guess, is they're going to roll him out more and more. All right. So with that being said, Sarge, you're back up. What worries you about the Seahawk defense?
Well, they still have a couple of ball hawks in the secondary. Well, one of our favorite guys, Quandre Diggs, is back there. And he's always, and it looks like, is Jamal Adams playing? Do you guys know? It looks like he's supposed to be back.
Like potentially.
Questionable?
Yeah, like potentially. It's
okay. So I mean, if he does play, he's another guy to worry about. They still got Bobby Wagner back. He played 1 year in LA and came right back to Seattle. He's not the player he once was, but man, he's smart, right? Like, he's probably one of the smartest guys at linebacker in the league because he's been around so long and he knows what he's doing out there. Pass rush doesn't really concern me a whole lot. I think someone touched on it a little bit ago. I think our offense is probably going to be able to pretty much do what they want to. Unless, like I said, unless something screwy happens, they get a tipped pass for a pick six like we did last week or something like that, that kind of throws the offense off rhythm. I'm not real concerned with the pass rush. Hopefully that means we can get some good running, get some good running plays out of it too. It'd be nice to see Gibbs get some more carries this week, or at least more touches. I don't care if they're carries or catches, really. But I'm not real concerned, other than, like I said, Quandre, Bobby Wagner. Those are probably the main two guys that they have on defense.
Mike, what you got?
Bobby Wagner's a stud. Like I said, he's long in the tooth, but damn, he was tackling machine. He was tackling last week. So, like, you got to account for this old man. The old man just gets it done. So we got to be able to game plan with our tight ends in the run game, because he's going to be tackling machine. Yeah. I'm like you. I'm not too concerned about the defense. I think, like, if you look what the Rams did to this defense, and I think we got better weapons, I think the Lions going to put up 30 plus. But Bobby Wagner is always a guy you got to keep an eye on.
Right on. Yeah, the Rams had a undrafted wide receiver, get like 150 yards. Yeah, Stafford threw to him like 15 times. I was like, where'd this guy come from? I don't know if he's good or if Seattle's just that bad at defense.
Stafford, that game, if you watch it, and at least especially in that second half, I mean, he was just threading some needles in there. I mean, he looked like, Matthew Stafford of 2014. I mean, he was on target. But
yeah, he was.
All right, so I think we know Pascal's going to be out this Sunday. Decker, quote from Campbell, is less than questionable. So I guess you could take that either way. He's less than even being questionable, so he's pretty good. Or, I mean, he's so hurt that he is questionable. I guess I don't really know how to interpret that, but I'm taking it as he's probably going to play. Mike, what are you thinking?
He said, I think there's a chance. I think it's more of an outside shot regarding Taylor Decker. So it seems like it's more doubtful. And that is big. We need our offensive line. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
And but I think it's a 1 week thing. Taylor Decker, if he doesn't play week 2, he'll be back week 3. Joshua Pascal, that one sucks because this one looked like it's going to be a long time. He did really good versus the Kansas City Chiefs, stopping that trick third down play, losing 3 yards. We need to have that young second-year body playing for the Lions. Like, we need these guys that are in their second year to produce. Too many injuries there. So it sucks. Thankfully, we're stout with depth on the defensive line, but we need these guys to be healthy. We do.
With him being out, maybe that means Martin comes up. And instead of being a healthy scratch, maybe they get the big guy, the big rookie in there.
Him and Bugs, try to get them in. I mean, like you said, Mike, the Lions can afford a injury or two on that defensive front because they kept so many, and the quality is pretty good. So I think that's going to impact us less. Decker, I mean, if he's not close to 100%, I don't think I'd put him out there because you do have some legitimate depth on that offensive line. But it is what it is. All right, so let's talk about Detroit real quick, and we'll try to round this up in about another 10 minutes or so. What does Sarge? We'll start with you. What does the Detroit offense need to do to help get the win this weekend?
A lot of it is the same as last week. I know they didn't put up a lot of points last week, but I'm talking about ball control. We did that pretty well last week. I'm talking about no turnovers. We did that last week. Other than okay, we had one, but we win the turnover battle. We'll go with that. But 0 would be better. I don't freak thing like Marvin Jones fumbling for the first time in his entire NFL career.
Right.
What can you say? But get Gibbs more involved. A lot of people were complaining about him not being that involved, but I'm like, Dave Montgomery is good, so don't be mad that he's not getting not getting as many reps as Montgomery. But the coach already touched on that, saying that was on purpose last week, and now they're going to get him a lot more involved in the game.
Right.
We still, Reynolds showed up last week, so Marvin didn't. So maybe they get Antoine Green a little more involved, or maybe that was just a fluke game for Marvin Jones. We were talking during the game last week, and a lot of the receivers didn't get a lot of separation. So hopefully they're working on some route running, trying to figure out how to get some separation other than St. Brown. St. Brown was double teamed almost every third down last week. So these other guys have to step up. So maybe get 2 tight ends on the field at the same time, 2 running backs on the field at the same time, mix it up, get Gibbs in the open field. I don't know if they really threw any passes to him, across the middle or down the sideline or anything like that. I want to see him get the ball in space and see what happens.
Mike, Kansas City after the first quarter basically just doubled St. Brown the rest of the game. That really seemed to affect the Lions offense during the middle part of the game, the second and third quarter. What would you say the Lions offense and Ben Johnson needs to do to alleviate that? Because until you can beat it consistently, I got to imagine every other team's going to do it.
Run the football. You want to go ahead and double? Go ahead and run the football. We got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery that would absolutely love to get those touches. Look, if you're going to double, then we're going to go ahead and run it. And at some point, you're going to remove that, and then you go ahead and do a play action pass to whoever's wide open, like Josh Reynolds was doing last week. So, look, I think we need to play old school football in this game, run the football. And, I think that's fine. That will alleviate some of that St. Brown effect that's been going on.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I like that. All right. Just a couple questions left here. Micro will put you back up. Detroit's defense. You got a wounded offensive line in Seattle. What are you doing if you're Aaron Glenn to say, hey, let's end this game early?
Well, you get Chuck Norris with a sniper, and then you can no, but here for real for the Detroit Lions defense, let's go ahead and get Geno Smith, knock him down. Again, their left and right tackle are not playing in this game. The defensive line an opportunity and Aiden Hutchinson to lick the chops and drool and smack Geno Smith down. Get him uncomfortable. You get this guy uncomfortable, he's going to throw picks. The game is over. You have an opportunity here. Let's go ahead and stack those sacks up and quarterback pressures. You do that, Lions win.
Sarge, what do you got?
I love it. Start off with man-to-man, like Aaron Glenn likes to do. I know it's going to be a big task to whoever's covering DK down, out there, but they got to, pull their heads back and smash the quarterback. I think take advantage of them losing both of their tackles. It doesn't matter, that they're not 100%, that we go at them, get to the quarterback, keep him in the pocket also. So if we don't get to him, we need to keep him because he's, he hurts us with his feet. He did last year. But we hit him early, hit him hard, and he's not going to want to throw the ball or scramble anymore the rest of the game. So, I'd like to see, a couple of turnovers, obviously, a couple of sacks, maybe a strip sack. Who knows?
Me, myself, if I'm Aaron Glenn, knowing whoever is going to be the offensive tackles for Seattle are already less than average. Now you're going to force them to come into a noisy Ford Field where they're going to have to go on silent snap counts. I'd probably look to see a lot of early in the game testing on them as far as overloading one side or the other and force that tackle and guard to have to communicate when they can't hear each other. Put 2-3 guys out wide on the right tackle and say, hey, who's going to block who? You get some confusion early. You could see Geno Smith go down, create a fumble, pick six or whatever it may be. And that's obviously going to just add fuel to the fire. All right, let's get on to the last part of the show here. Score predictions. Sarge, what do you got?
Woo. I think Detroit runs away with this one. I'm going to go I'm going to say 38-17.
Dang,
all right.
I love that. That would be a great, man. I tell you what, if that happens, I'd love to see Teddy Bridgewater in the fourth quarter. That's smoking that ass.
Right.
I got Lions winning in a kind of a woodshed game, 30-17. I think the Lions win this game. It feels like one of those moments that they're going to go ahead and kind of bully their way in this one.
Okay. I think we all seem to agree. I think it's actually going to be fairly close to the first quarter, but I just think the sound of that, Ford Field, the deafening, the fans just waiting to unload all this energy from years of buildup, plus all the hype and excitement at the end of last year. Now you beat KC. I think tight first quarter is going to be a not so tight halftime, and it's going to be a roll the second half. I'm going to go 41-21. So. Nice. James Houston, 41 sacks at the half. All right. Hey, I want to thank Micro Mike. I want to thank the Sarge for all tuning in. Those of you in the comments section, hey, thanks for being a part of the show. We'll have a quick thing tomorrow morning as always, and then we're on to game day. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you haven't hit that like button, it really would be appreciated if you would. Try to make a drive to get to 3,200 by kickoff on Sunday. We're only about, I think, 25 away, so if you can help out with that, that'd be great. All right, guys, any parting words?
Go Lions. Let's kick
that
go
Lions. There it is. Everybody take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time on Lions Talk Live.